Hey, you guys, welcome back to Brownie's Judgment. I'm your host, Zuli, and today I wanted to talk about what it's like and what we experience as individuals when we have too many outside expectations or standards from other people. And I just kind of wanted to tap into this because I feel like sometimes it's something that I experience and every single one of us do. And I know it's kind of a bit different, from what we usually talk about, but I think it's an important thing to talk about just because of the fact that we never truly know if someone does or doesn't have good intentions behind what they're telling us, or maybe perhaps we're ignoring what we're supposed to be paying attention to, like things like that. And I think that it's important that we acknowledge that sometimes too many outside opinions can be paralyzing. I just wanted to say that I understand and I get it, because every single one of us have different sort of voices sort of telling us things, throughout our whole life, whether it's our parents or parent, whether it be other family members, friends, co-workers, partners, anything like that, you know what I mean? And I think that it's critical that we take the time to truly acknowledge that, is this something that I do or do I not want to take into consideration? Is it something that causes me fear? Is it something that makes me feel peace? Is it something that makes me question? Does it convict me? Like that inside feeling of like, maybe something isn't right, sort of thing. And I just want to say that I get it. That of course we always want to be respectful of, the opinions that others give us, because, you know, they're taking their time out of their day or whatever to, like, quote unquote give us advice. But what I truly do think is the most important is that we understand that sometimes, despite them possibly having the best intentions, sometimes even like those good intentions, pieces of advice can lead us somewhere that we shouldn't, or maybe someone's pieces of advice that we're trying to ignore or we feel are too much or whatever, maybe that might be what we just want to hear. I can't truly say that I know your situation, of course, other than if you were to tell me, right? But even then, like maybe my judgment for your situation isn't the best either. But all I can do is just kind of give like a general, in a sense, but I don't even want to say advice, more kind of in a direction, maybe, that we can all kind of go towards, because you're not in this alone. Believe me, you definitely are not. But here's the thing though. Sometimes some of these pieces of advice that we're getting from other people are somewhat more serious, more critical, more scary than for others. For instance, like, let's just say, for instance, you're going out somewhere and you don't know if you want to wear a blue or a purple shirt, and then someone comes in and they're like, no, like, you have to wear this purple shirt because blah blah blah, the pants, or I don't know. I mean, I'm just thinking of like a random example, right? But those stakes will be a lot, less severe, of course, than if someone is telling you, hey, this person needs to be removed from your life, or you need to walk away from this person, or hey, like, if you don't clean up your act, you could get such and such physical or mental illness. I mean, there's so many scenarios for every single individual at every age, every part of I guess chapter of life. And I think when we truly acknowledge and accept and wrap our heads around the fact that there will always be unwanted or lack of wanted advice. And I think that stems from a place of being like, I'm at a loss or a struggle at this certain thing and no one notices, or it could be the opposite of someone, which is kind of like closer to where we're leaning towards, right now in this episode and the opposite end of like someone that is just trying to quiet down all the noise, and everything feels just so overwhelming because the expectations of others, it can be heavy, because the reality is that we have our own expectations for ourselves as individuals. And when we stop and we pause and we take the moment to truly think about what it is, not even that we desire or that's right for us or that we think we need, but rather that what it is that God desires in our life to be on the path that He wants for us. Because I've tried time and time again to try to make my own path, and usually when that happens, it doesn't really end well. And that's not every single person, but I would say most of us, yeah, like we can relate to that. Like I tried to do it my own way and then I fell flat on my face, kind of thing. Outside expectations can amplify the situation more than it needs to. Outside explanations can make you overthink more about the situation than it needs to. Outside expectations can cloud your judgment when it comes to having to make a decision or a choice or whatever. But I just want to start this off by saying that you do not need to make a decision about this certain thing unless the deadline is today. And I think that when we can just let go of what's holding us hostage, truly, that's what it feels like, in these thoughts in the cage. And when we let it go and try to pay more close attention to what our Father says, that's going to make a really huge difference as far as how much anxiety we have, or depression, or whatever, I think when it comes to advice, there are definitely some people that give bad advice on purpose. And they know they're doing it and they're conscious of it. And then maybe every single one of us has done it at least once. Maybe. I think that's possible. So that way this person can get it out of their own gang or whatever. But nobody knows the situation better than the individual and God themselves. But whenever it involves another person in the equation, it makes it that much more complicated. Because of the fact that this person probably isn't on the same timeline as the other two who have discussed or taken their time, or one scolded or whatever. But I think when we finally just let it go and realize that the most important, even if selfishly, person in this situation is you as an individual. You know what I mean? Because who knows what's going to end up happening with this situation, whether it's going to end good or bad. Like, that's just the truth. I don't know if you're going to make the right decision or the wrong decision or no decision, which that's a decision too, by the way. But I just want to encourage you and say that spring is coming up next week. And spring can represent new beginnings. And maybe that's scary for you at this point in time. New beginnings, But I truly do think that it's okay to be scared, to be paralyzed, to be nervous, to be anxious about whatever it is that needs to be concluded or started or given faith to. You're not wrong to be a human with emotions that are difficult to understand even for yourself. But holding on to outside expectations isn't going to make it any easier or better. Because when we internalize what other people think, they can walk away just fine. They tell you what they tell you and then they walk away, but you leave with it. And what if it's something that you're not even supposed to be paying attention or listening to, or if it is, this person goes off and lives their day and you don't, you stay with it. But what if you weren't meant to? What if you were supposed to let go and you didn't even know? Everyone, don't get me wrong. For the most part, I'm sure that people in general just do it in the best interest and to have people avoid hurt or whatever it is. But we're always going to get hurt. We're always going to make mistakes. But it's up to us as individuals, not others, to tell us whether we should stay, we should go, we should run, or we should walk. No one guides our steps better than God himself. And that's something I have to remind myself of when I start to catastrophize about a certain choice or whatever it is, And then it's easy to try to get like outside advice or whatever, It's not okay to be so hard on oneself to the point where it feels almost impossible to get out of it because of too many voices in our head from other people. We have to surrender that to God and keep moving forward, even if it feels like it's impossible, because that's the only true way that you're going to have peace at the end of the day. Okay? That's going to be the end of our episode for today. Thank you so much for listening in and spending your time here on Brownie's Judgment. Catch you guys in the next one. And as always, God bless. Bye.